once that timer stops, we're going to go ahead and begin right on time, right at the top of the hour. Well, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Brian Thomas. I'm a learning designer here at TCI. Really excited to have an opportunity to present to you today on a closer look, a hands-on learning for Ohio's K-5 classrooms. And I am so blessed and lucky to have with me here Melanie Sutherland. Melanie is a customer consultant with TCI. Melanie, tell them a little bit about you, give them your stats, your teaching stats before we go ahead and push on.
Sure, sure. I am a teacher, retired after 31 years. Love working with students and so happy to be with TCI. Used it in my classroom, and I work with a lot of our Ohio customers, so I'm excited to be here tonight.
Melanie is fantastic. She will be manning the questions in case any come up, and also be there for me as a backup plan in case something catastrophic happens, which we don't think will take place at all. But Melanie, it's great to have you here. My teaching stats, I'm a former classroom teacher as well. I taught for 12 years just north of Cincinnati, Ohio, in a school district called Lakota. If you're from Ohio, you're probably familiar with that area. It's in the Westchester area, about 20 miles north of Cincinnati. I taught 7th and 8th grade social studies and used History Alive for years. And then in 2002, I started training for TCI, going out and doing professional development trainings. And then 2 years later, left the classroom in the summer of 24, or not 24, of '04. And I've been with TCI ever since. My current role is learning designer. So I help to write some of the lessons that go in our programs, and really interested most in making sure that we provide you the tools to engage your students. So I'm really interested in where you're located. So what I'm going to ask you to do is a little Mentimeter poll right here. If you scan this QR code, which I'm actually going to jump over here, look like it's the very same image, and it is. There's a QR code that you can scan, or if you go to menti.com and type in the code there at the very top, you can go ahead and use your finger and tell me where you're located in Ohio. Now, if you're not located in Ohio, don't worry. You can actually go off the screen closest to where your state would be located. Maybe you're just really interested in Ohio, and that's why you're with us tonight, but you're not from Ohio. Again, it's okay. Just go ahead and use that. We see I got someone from Sydney and folks near Dayton and Middletown. I actually was born in Middletown, Ohio. That's where I was born, and down in my neck of the woods, Cincinnati. So great to have everyone here, and really interested in getting feedback from you as a teacher on what kinds of programs and what kinds of expectations that you would have for your social studies needs. And so what I'm going to be doing is sharing a little bit about who we are and what we have to offer, and then take questions that you have as well at the very end. So who are we? Obviously, Melanie and I have already introduced ourselves, but maybe you really don't know that much about TCI, or you hear the acronym and you think, well, that sounds like a telecom. Maybe they're going to sell me a mobile phone or something like that. TCI stands for Teachers Curriculum Institute, and we were founded in 1989 as a company by and for social studies teachers. We are all about active inquiry-based learning, making sure that we provide teachers with engaging print and digital resources, and that we give you ongoing support at every step. And the reason that we're able to do that, what underpins it, is that we're former teachers ourselves. We create our programs for you. The programs that I'm going to be sharing today are all geared towards Ohio's elementary. Now, as we go through, just some housekeeping. If you've got some questions as we're going through the webinar, feel free to use the Q&A button to be able to add those questions, or you can just simply throw it into chat. One or the other is going to be just fine, and we will make sure that we take that question and answer it as best we can. And if I don't know the answer, I'll make it my job to find it for you. So what are we going to be covering over the next 20 minutes, 25 minutes is how can hands-on activities make social studies more meaningful for the Ohio K-5 student? That's the question, our essential question that we want to try to get an answer to. And the way in which we're going to do that is share with you our programs, Then we're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into one and actually step inside the lesson to see some of the features that are there, and then come back and take questions that you have. So our K-5 programs for Ohio, we have one for all 6 of those grades. They start with our early elementary program, Me and My World, for kindergarten. First grade, we have a program called My School and Family. Second grade is My Community. Third grade is called Our Community and Beyond. Fourth grade is called Social Studies Alive, Ohio and the United States. And that'll actually be the program that I feature when we take a little bit of a deeper dive in just a moment. And then fifth grade is our Western Hemisphere program. So these programs were built for and do match your standards as an Ohio teacher. So if you're looking for a program where your standards are covered, it's in there. Think of it like the spaghetti sauce Prego. It's in there. And I'm going to show you that when we go live here in just a few moments. But it's not just online. Our program is built for multiple media, meaning that we're building it for online use, but we're also building it for print. So every one of these 5 programs here are going to have the same components. Sure, there's going to be a digital subscription that you as a teacher will be able to use with yourself and your students to be able to have really great lessons already in slide decks for you so that you can facilitate them. Really great instructional tools that are embedded within those within that digital platform. There's a lot that's there, but we also know that teachers need print too. And so every one of those 6 programs includes what we call a student journal. And it's basically a consumable textbook, meaning it will have the chapter and any kind of activity related notes that the students would be taking. We, of course, create teacher guides, both online and in print. And we also have activity cards that are used in a variety of some of the lessons that are there, also digital and in print. And that's a common theme throughout. It's not an either or proposition, it's both with our program. Now, having said that, we're going to go live. And I want to take a little bit of a deeper dive into an Ohio lesson as a 4th grade teacher. And through this, even if you teach kinder or you teach 5th grade, and though the content might differ, your needs are going to be very similar to whatever I'm going to be showing. Such as, if I'm a 4th grade teacher in Ohio, any program that I use, I want to make sure that it's going to meet my needs. And top of the list of meeting my needs means it meets my standards. When you use our program, any lesson that you're in, such as this one on geography's effects on Ohio and the United States, you'll see at the very top that we put and label the content statements from the Ohio standards so that you know exactly what is covered when you do a lesson with TCI. And it's not just here. You'll see these standards also appear in the online student accounts as well. But we put that there for you as a teacher so that you know this is a program that was not only built by teachers, but it was built specifically for Ohio teachers to be able to use. When you get into a lesson, you've got a really great planning box. And I'm going to come back to this after we look at the lesson that I'm going to showcase, but I want to give you a little bit of a flavor. What does a TCI lesson look like? Why did it hook people like me and Melanie out of the classroom and bring us to TCI? So what we're going to do is I'm going to open up what we call a classroom activity slideshow. And I've actually already opened it up here. Now you'll see that these are slides, not too dissimilar than Google Slides or PowerPoint. The difference is here it's built right inside my teacher platform, and it's something that I can project, but it's also something that I can assign because there's both content for me that I can use to facilitate, but also content and opportunities for students to respond to content inside these slides. We're going to show that by taking a look at how we hook students in. Now, this lesson that we're looking at is going to be covering geography and its effects on Ohio and its people. But we begin every lesson with a preview, something that's going to tie in an anticipatory set, hook them into their previous knowledge, their prior experiences. And this one, we're going to focus in on games. Lots of people play games of all different ages. There's games that go all the way back to ancient history. In fact, ancient Egypt had board games. So we're going to begin this lesson by showing a couple pictures and asking the students, in what ways does it look different, this board game from ancient Egypt, to board games like Monopoly or Sorry or Life? Or Melanie, what's your favorite board game? You got a favorite board game?
I do. I loved playing Sorry with my family. It was our favorite game.
Sorry's great. Yeah. So what's different about something like this than those board games? Well, it's shaped different than a square board game. I can see that it's shaped different. Some students might point out that it looks like it's made of stone, and most board games are made out of cardboard, heavy cardboard. But we can also see that there are some similarities too, right? We can actually see the makeup of this little reptile that's twirled up here, and they're broken into these little tiles. And it makes me think of Melanie. It makes me think of a game like Sorry, where you've got to move to little tiles around the board. So games have been around for a very long time, and it's a great way. This analogy here is to hook students into this game and get games on their mind, because we're going to build on that, and we're going to use gamification as an avenue to teach skill and content and marry those together. So the preview here also includes an opportunity for the students to respond to, how are we going to link that to what we're going to learn? So we'll always provide them the chapter introduction, and this is something that students can get at a point of use. Or if you have the print, they may be reading this introduction on the print side and taking their preview notes there. Online, they have the very same resources. So again, it's not an either or proposition, it's always a both with TCI. But if you assign this slideshow to students as you're facilitating it, the students would be able to read and be able to answer the questions right there along with you. Now, obviously, they don't have answer keys there. That's just for you as a teacher. After a preview, something that I always enjoyed doing with my students, because I knew it was something that was necessary, and it would also make the activity portion of the lesson more rich and pay off in greater ways, was to build in and pre-teach the vocabulary, the key content vocabulary. So that's a feature that you're going to find in each one of the lessons. Is we'll have a variety of vocabulary activities that you can use with your students. Like this slide right here, for example, would include definitions of what these key content terms are, and then also provides a sentence where you can see it in context. So we can talk about that together as a class before I challenge them to do some sort of a vocabulary activity where they demonstrate understanding based off that. So here, for example, they're going to use a word bank, and then they're going to be completing these captions over here on these annotations with the correct key content term on these annotations. And again, if it's here online, where else is it, Melanie? It's also inside the journal too. We always make sure that you have it in both places, digital and online. I'm going to close this up because I really want to take you to where this lesson goes through a hands-on activity with the students. So let me move my little camera right there because it's right in my way. There we go. Need to refresh that and go to the activity. I apologize there. We're going to go to this activity. This hands-on activity, every lesson will always include them, is an opportunity for you to work with the students as they learn content, and usually do something else too. Now, here, as an Ohio teacher, I know that my students need to understand tables, charts, graphs, whether it's pie charts or bar graphs or whatever it might be. That is built into our standards. But I also have to teach Ohio's geography. Can I marry those two together so that I can maximize my time? Absolutely. And we can do that by doing two hands-on activities. So we'll probably spread this out over a couple of days of instruction. But the first day, we're going to build their skill set. So we're going to focus in on tables and charts. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to go back to where we started with this lesson, the idea of games. So we're going to ask them, which of these is your favorite type of game? And then we're going to tally the votes up so that we can see students right here, for example, on the whiteboard have started to tally up how many of their classmates said physical games or board and card games or video games. My favorite would definitely be board and card games. I love euchre. I love Trivial Pursuit. So I'm a big on the board and card games. But other folks may be different. They may say, no, I'm a gamer. I love video games. Other students might say, well, I love being outside and play kickball or whatever it might be. Tetherball. I don't even know if they play tetherball anymore. But they may be into physical games of some sort. So whatever it might be, we're going to take those tally marks, vote together as a class, and then we're going to use that to start looking at how would we visualize that data. So here, for example, we see a table where we've got 9 students that said physical games, 7 that said board and card games, and 5 students said their preference would be video games. Well, there's different ways in which we could show that data, right? As a social studies teacher, I want my students to know that, look, a pie chart, for example, could show that data by making the pie pieces their size relative to how many people voted for them. Or if we were to take that same data that's in the table and put it into a bar graph and use the X and Y axis there to show how many students voted for each of those. That's also a great visual way to look at data. After an initial introduction, we're going to want our students to read in the text and get some additional information and then take some related notes before we build off of that. Now, I showed the introduction before when students click a read button, it pops up for them. This is the very same text. There is no difference between the text here and that would be in the print journal, as same images, same words, all of that. The differences are in the accessibility features that you have as a teacher. So for example, I can select between an A and a B reading level. Grades 2 and above for TCI, we always provide an A and a B. A, which would be on grade level, and B, which I just changed to 2, is about 75% of that Lexile range. So it makes it easier for students who perhaps need to have a lower level reading of it. You can also have the text read aloud. So when a student clicks the play button here, what it will do is it will read whatever they've highlighted, or if they just click the play
One
button,
way
it'll
to
start there at the
understand
very top.
history is by looking at pieces of information called data. Data includes facts.
Now, that may be too fast for some students, not a problem, because what you could do is you can click this little down arrow right there, and you can change it to a slower speed or leave it at a normal speed. The other things that are up here that I think are really great is we support, and I'll back out so that you can see this, we actually support Spanish built right into all of our programs, and it's a little toggle that you can switch as a teacher or the students can switch, or you can even lock students into a particular language. But when you do that and it's in Spanish, everything then is in Spanish, including the slide deck like we're looking at right here. The very same slides, if I advance forward, we'll see that all of that is in Spanish for me as well. Now, knowing that, which is really great, one of the tools, one of the tools that you'll see is that you can, I've clicked the button at the very top of my screen. And now I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to stop sharing for just a second. Oh, there we go. What did I do? There we go. All right. Sorry about that. It was playing around on me a little bit. All right, so let's get back into this. So the other thing I wanted to show you is that Spanish, while it's a toggle right there for everyone, you can change it into a number of different languages just by having your students highlight text and use this little Google Translate tool right there, and we can change it to something else. So Melanie, I'll let you pick. What do you want to switch it into here?
Oh, I always think it's interesting to hear the Chinese.
Chinese, absolutely. So we can either do simplified or traditional, whichever you select, you'll get a pop-up window. And the bonus is there's even text to audio here too. So you click play.
资讯被称为数据， 数据包括事
and
实
it will go ahead and read it in that language as well. So there are a number of languages that are supported beyond Spanish, where you have that easy toggle right here. So there's a lot of really great accessibility tools. Probably my favorite, though, is this one right here, the main idea viewer. Because I know as a teacher, part of my job is not just coaching down, but I've got to coach students up. So if they're using a text, even if it's a little bit more than what they can handle at the moment, one way in which I can help to coach them up is to provide them the main ideas. And that's exactly what this little button does right here. When they click that, it will bold the key sentences that are in that section of text. Now, the other features that we see here, there are images, maps, graphs, charts. All of those are clickable and they can analyze them in greater detail, even with a little magnifying glass that's there. And then there's also a tool that allows them to be able to mark up and highlight their text. So they can highlight sentences, give them different colors. And when they do that, what will happen is inside their account, and I'm going to switch it back to English here, inside their account over in the sidebar, there's a section over in the sidebar that will keep all of their notes. And when they go there, anything that they've highlighted will show up there. They can even print those out. So they can make a really great study guide just by using the main idea viewer and the markup tool alone. So, wow. I mean, there's so much that's there, but here's the thing. This is just the content side. So this is them reading and taking some activity related notes. Watch what happens when we build off of this. So the students now have read a little bit about tables and graphs. And what we're going to do is we're going to put that into practice by playing a game. And so in this particular lesson, we're going to have them play the data detective games. Now, I'm going to play around with you and I'm going to show you how this game works. What we're going to do is we're going to have the students break up into groups of 3, but you're going to play alone. And you're going to want some scratch pad in front of you right now. If you would do that, just grab a piece of paper or something like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to project some questions that you're going to have to use the skills of reading maps, or not maps, but graphs and tables and charts. You're going to have to use that skill that we learned in the first hands-on activity to be successful and earn points for your team in the second. So here's how we'll do it. What we'll do is I'm going to give you a question. You'll have 1 minute in which you can write your response down. Don't use chat. Don't put that in there because then there'll be 3 other people in right after it saying, I was going to say the same thing. So let's keep it anonymous initially here. And let's do round 1 together, which is going to cover Ohio's early economic growth. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shortcut this a little bit. We're going to pretend that you are master students. You just came into my class as 4th graders with this knowledge. But what would your students be doing? They would read first about that economic growth in the United States. They would also be taking their content related notes, and they would do that either online or they would be doing that in print, just as we see right here. After we've played that, this is where we're going to hop in, is we're going to start with round 1, and you're going to answer question A, and I'm going to throw it up here. You're going to have 1 minute in which you can respond, and let's see how you do. And there is a bar graph with this one. So question A, according to the bar graph, how many million pounds more of butter were produced in 1860 than in 1850? And the key word there is more. So let's start the timer. Maybe you need to see that a little bit bigger, so I'll make that a little bit bigger for you. Go ahead and write your responses down. Melanie, you haven't seen this question yet either, right?
No, I haven't.
All right. You have 30 seconds. At each round of this game, there'll be a little timer with each one of the questions, just like that allows you as a teacher to click play and have it facilitate for you right here. Okay, time is up. Let's see how we did. So according to the bar graph, how many million pounds more of butter were produced in 1860 than in 1850? All right, Melanie, I'm going to pick on you because you're here and I'm going to pick on you, all right? So
Okay, great.
what did you say the answer was?
I said the answer was 14 million pounds.
So
Is that
let's see
right?
if you're right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to click show the answer key, and Melanie's right. 14 million more pounds of butter were produced in 1860 than in 1850. 14 million more pounds. Look at that huge jump
That's
just
wild.
in a decade, right? Yeah. And if we look at this same data right here, what do we also notice? That cheese was pretty, pretty stable, but it was butter that jumped quite a bit. And so this gives me an opportunity after I go through my questions to say, well, did anybody understand why butter jumped the way that it did? And then you've got the students going back, getting that positive redundancy and pointing out the technological changes that were made just in that short decade span that contributed to that increase that we see there. All right. So there's the first question. Great job there. Let's move on to question two, or question B, I should say, on Ohio's early economic growth. Let's do this one together. Now, this one says, according to the table, which type of animal had the smallest increase in population from 1850 to 1860? Now, this time, I'm only going to give you 30 seconds. I know the timer says a minute, but I'm only going to give you 30 seconds to write down your response to that question. In the way of the question, so I'll make it smaller again. And according to the table, which type of animal had the smallest increase in population? 2 more seconds. Okay, let's stop it right there. And I'm going to advance it just like we did before. So, Melanie, again, I'm going to pick on you. Which one had the
Okay.
smallest increase?
That would be donkeys and mules.
Donkeys and mules. And you said by how much? What was the increase?
Oh gosh, I didn't count it. Let's see. It's like 3,000 something.
Let's see.
Should have written it
Yes,
down.
that
Okay.
is right. Yeah, the smallest increase was with donkeys,
Yay.
was with oxen, and it was 3,000. Good job, good job. Woohoo! We did math and social studies at the same
Wow.
time, right?
Oh,
Uh,
that's great.
Now there's another round as well. So we're not going to do it here, but you'll see that as we progress, the questions keep coming for the students, and they get an opportunity with each one of them that we can review the text if needed. At the end, we can talk about it together. And remember, they're going to be doing this together with two other students, so they're going to be grouped in three. So it creates a game-like atmosphere. It creates some positive moments for positive redundancy to bring back what they've already read about and build on the skills that they got in the first hands-on activity. Folks, that's in a nutshell, that is exactly what we try to do with every lesson. And so if we played the remainder of the rounds, you would all be not only data detectives, but you would be steeped in both tables and charts and graphs and Ohio's early geographic development and its early economic prowess all the way to the end. And what we're going to do is we'll always finish a lesson with a challenge to the students to show what they know. Now, this is also like the other parts. This is both in print and online. The students will always get a chapter summary, and then they're going to have to do some writing based on what they've learned. It's going to challenge their understanding and hit those HOTS, the higher order thinking skills, as they do so. All of that is just one lesson. And your Ohio programs with TCI are in all of these. Uh, uh, you have lessons for all of these programs that are there. Um, I wanted to make sure that I shared just one last thing, and then we'll take any questions that you all have. I said that we would come back and we would talk about this little area right here because not only did I want my standards covered, but I also know as a teacher that I need my needs met as well. As a teacher, I need to know that I've always got materials at the ready, that I have step-by-step procedures that I can read through and be able to know confidently how to conduct the lesson, how I can differentiate that lesson for different needs of students, from those who need reading support all the way to the advanced learners, and how we can challenge them with some additional rigor. We'll even provide you links to really great resources like our access points for differentiation, which essentially are modified activity notes that you can use with your students. That's always going to be there for you in every lesson. And then we'll also have a section called Enhancing Learning, where you'll get some really great website suggestions and some great tools to extend and enrich your students beyond just the materials and the lessons that we've provided. That is Social Studies Alive. And that's how we build Ohio's resources so that you can be successful to hit your standards, engage your students, and have a lot of fun while you're doing it too. So I'm going to throw this up on the screen so that you can scan that little QR code and have an opportunity to be able to get some free resources. In fact, what you'll get is a teacher license for the remainder of the year. You'll have access to any or all of these 6 programs here that you can use and play around with and see exactly what TCI has to provide. Now, while you're looking at that, maybe scanning it, maybe some of you have some questions as well. So Melanie, can you tell me, are there any questions that people have thrown into chat along the way that I should take a few moments here to answer?
No questions, but I think they really just like the engagement. There were some comments about the connection between the math and social studies that they liked. And yeah, I hope they'll take advantage of getting that free resource and trying it themselves.
Absolutely. Freeze for me, right?
Right.
As a teacher, especially it gives you a chance to be able to kick the tires and make sure that this is a program that's going to work for you and for your students. And I know it will. So if you do have questions, this isn't the only time that you can ask them. You can always reach out to TCI, and we make it really easy to be able to do so. You can follow us in social media on Facebook and on Instagram. We're there now too, at Teach TCI for Facebook, and then at Teach_TCI for Instagram. So you can follow us on our socials there. Also, I'd encourage you visit our TCI website. Like I said there at the very beginning in the icebreaker, maybe some of you aren't from Ohio. You were just piqued because it was TCI, it was social studies, and you wanted to see what was there. We make programs for everyone across the nation, so you can learn about us, and we also make science programs as well. So learn a little bit about us and what we're doing at TCI just by scanning that QR code. Or if you want to stay informed, you want to get a newsletter, you want us to give you the latest happenings of what we're doing at TCI, you can scan that and stay in touch as well. Melanie, is there anything else? Any questions come up even in that little time space that we should stop and answer before we close this out?
No, I think we're good. I think you got everybody enticed and they're excited to dive in.
Great. Well, I just want to thank everyone for your opportunity, the opportunity to be able to share these resources with you. And thank you for being a classroom teacher. The average person could never, ever do what you do as a teacher. And we're here because of you and for you. We will always be so. So again, thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening and go forth.